The man took off his shirt. He wanted to challenge a massive gorilla.
Christ almighty.
Then Frank began to steady his breathing. The gorilla started beating its chest. A fierce showdown between man and ape was about to erupt. Frank charged toward the gorilla. The gorilla roared and charged at Frank. This gorilla could punch with nearly 2 tons of force. Its arm span reached an astonishing 2.8 meters in height, build, weight, and strength. It had an absolute advantage. In the past, Frank might have been able to barely hold his own, but he had left the jungle too long ago. He had grown accustomed to city life. He had lost the agility and power he once had in the rainforest. The close quarters fight quickly became one-sided. The gorilla swung both fists down onto Frank. The sledgehammer-like force made Frank wince in pain. After hitting him, the gorilla turned to show off its strength to its companions. But just then, Frank somehow managed to stand up again. Although Frank was also very strong, he ended up pinned to the ground and taught a lesson, completely unable to fight back. But the gorilla didn't go for the kill. It just bit him on the shoulder, seemingly leaving him with a reminder. After all, they had once been like brothers. After teaching Frank a lesson, the gorilla suddenly turned its gaze to the armed man nearby. The man was terrified and backed away. He couldn't withstand the gorilla's intimidation. He quickly knelt down in submission. Trembling, he asked in a shaky voice. The gorilla let out a deafening roar. The sound was ear-splitting. It scared the man so much, he immediately lay flat, begging for mercy. The gorilla stood up satisfied, then nodded to Frank, and left contentedly. Only then did the man dare to get up. He rushed over to Frank, helped pop his dislocated arm back into place. But the wound couldn't be stitched without needle and thread. For Frank, who grew up in the jungle, this was nothing. He picked up a few ants, placed their heads on the edge of the wound. Once the ants bit into the skin on both sides of the wound, he twisted off their bodies. Using ants to close a wound was an essential survival skill in the jungle. The two even ate some ants for energy. Meanwhile, Frank's wife had wandered into the gorilla's territory. The gorillas thought she was challenging them. They bared their teeth, letting out deafening warning roars. Luckily, Jane had spent many years with Frank. She understood the laws of the wild jungle. Might makes right. Submission was the only way to survive. She immediately knelt on the ground, lowered her head, showing the most humble respect to the gorillas. Just then, Rum and his men caught up. Seeing the situation, Rum signaled his men to hold steady. He moved forward cautiously, his eyes alert. He slowly approached Jane, copying her posture, submitting to the gorillas. Jane agreed to go with him. On one condition, he must not harm these gorillas. But then something unexpected happened. A reckless subordinate's gun misfired, killing one gorilla instantly, at a cliff more than 10 miles away. Frank was traveling when he clearly heard the gorillas and his wife crying out. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaped off the cliff, grabbed a vine, and sped through the forest like the wind. Back with Jane, the situation instantly descended into chaos. Gunfire became a death sentence for the gorillas, facing the humans' relentless shooting. Gorillas were no match for their weapons. They were just flesh and blood. They couldn't stop bullets from piercing through them. They fell one after another. Screams of agony filled the air. Frank was running at a nearly insane speed, his heart burning with anxiety, wishing he could appear before them. Instantly, his gorilla brother heard the commotion and arrived first. Without thinking twice, it rushed toward the gunfire. Just as it was about to be hit, Frank arrived in time and saved it. In that moment, the two who had grown up together in the jungle finally reconciled their differences. They stood side by side on the same front. The remaining soldiers fled in panic, but Jane had already been captured. To rescue his wife as quickly as possible, Frank chased after them alone. By now, Jane was already taken hostage by Ram and brought to the territory of the Bonga tribe. That's all for today's film recap. Please follow me for more upcoming content.